It was late morning when Karen, ever eager to assert authority over my property, decided to cut through my ranch fence. Her stated goal? To improve HOA patrol efficiency and monitor land use. What she didn't realize was that the fence wasn't just decorative. It was a critical wildlife barrier protecting rare and legally protected species, including a herd of deer and several nesting raptors. By cutting the fence, she had not only trespassed but also violated federal wildlife protection laws. I first noticed the damage through the ranch security cameras. Karen had arrived with a pair of bolt cutters, accompanied by a small group of HOA members, and was methodically cutting the wires while recording herself for some imagined social media victory. Her arrogance was palpable. She seemed confident that her HOA status gave her the right to manipulate private property and endanger wildlife. I activated the PA system across the ranch. Karen, you are trespassing and illegally cutting a wildlife barrier on private property. Leave immediately. Any further interference will result in criminal charges and immediate legal action. Karen ignored the warning, shouting back, "This is community property. You can't stop me." Her actions, however, had already been fully captured by security cameras, including timestamps, her identifying features, and the tools she used to cut the fence. Every step she took was documented for law enforcement and federal authorities. I approached in my truck, carrying legal documentation and federal permits proving the protected status of the land. Karen tried to argue, waving her clipboard and shouting about HOA rules. I calmly responded, "Ma'am, this is private property with federally protected wildlife. Your actions are illegal. Step back immediately or law enforcement will be involved." Meanwhile, deputies were dispatched after I reported the incident. When they arrived, they immediately assessed the situation, noting the cut fence, Karen's presence on private property, and the potential violation of federal wildlife laws. Karen attempted to justify her actions, claiming she didn't know the fence had any special status. But ignorance of the law is never a valid defense, especially when the property owner has posted clear signage and documentation. I walked with the deputies to inspect the damage. Karen's face drained of color as they explained the severity of her actions. Destruction of private property, trespassing, and potential fines under federal environmental protection laws. My security footage provided indisputable evidence of her deliberate intent and timing, making any claims of accidental trespassing impossible. Neighbors, observing from a distance, were shocked at Karen's reckless audacity. She had believed cutting a fence would demonstrate HOA authority, but instead, she had created a detailed legal record of her criminal activity and placed herself at risk of heavy fines and possible arrest. The deputies formally removed Karen from the property, and the HOA board was immediately notified of her actions. Her privileges were permanently revoked, and federal authorities were alerted regarding the wildlife violation. By the end of the day, the fence had been repaired, the wildlife was secure, and Karen's reckless overreach had resulted in a permanent record that would follow her for years. Karen had thought cutting the fence would assert HOA control. Instead, she violated federal law, triggered law enforcement intervention, and permanently lost HOA privileges, all while the protected wildlife and my property remained fully safeguarded. Karen tried to assert HOA authority by damaging private property. Instead, she learned firsthand that rogue HOA members cannot interfere with protected land or private property without facing immediate legal and personal consequences.